Unpacking unintended power implications and tensions. When we talk about power in social innovation and energy transitions, just as important as talking about the intended goals of social innovation and energy transitions is to think about the unintended consequences. And here we are specifically talking about unintended power implications. And this is often something that is not talked about in a lot of movements and innovation initiatives that have transformative ambitions to make the world better, because it's counterintuitive to talk about how you might make the world worse. But we argue that this is an important dimension about thinking about power. One very big debate in power theories is about the extent to which power is centralized or diffused. And to really summarize an age-old debate about the three phases of power, first there was Dahl, who at some point argued, power like a king would have it, historically, that doesn't exist anymore in our modern day democracies because we have democratic decision making. Then Bachrach and Baratz argued, yes, but wait a minute, there's still the power of agenda setting. So there are still elites that are setting the agenda. And then Lux, who went even a step further and argued, well, even if people are having a choice, their preferences can be shaped, so they can be manipulated in their choices that they make. So we can endlessly debate which of these three perspectives is right, which is interesting, but more interesting is to learn what can we learn from all these three phases of power, and how do all three phases of power manifest in social innovation and energy. And here I think we specifically learn something around the power dynamics of decentralization and re-centralization in social innovation in energy. SIE stands for social innovation in energy. So there are many ways in which we see decentralization in social innovation in energy. There's the decentralization of energy production and distribution. There's the decentralization of decision-making, ownership, and profits, and of governance and government levels. And some of the unintended power implications is that decentralization in one place often comes with re-centralization and new power concentrations in other places. And for instance, that decentralized decision-making, for instance, as happens in an energy cooperative, tends to be inclusive for some, but it can also be exclusive for others. And last but not least, platforms and networks that initially aim to decentralize power to their users and members can become new concentrations of power and or profit. We see this very clearly with a network like, with a platform like Airbnb or Uber. Like at first instance, it seemed like it was decentralizing power because everybody can become a taxi driver or everybody can rent their room. So this is decentralizing power from hotel chains and taxi companies. But when you look closer, you see that there is actually a re-centralization of power and profit in the platform companies that are behind it. So a question that I always like to ask, how do we avoid that decentralization in energy becomes the new Uber in the energy markets? There is often a bit of a naive assumption that decentralization in social innovation means that it also comes with more equal power relations. But decentralization can also lead to more unequal power relations. And the question is, how do we deal with that? And how can we maybe avoid that?
So how to go about with the power tensions in your own experience? How to start identifying these unintended consequences that could be anywhere, and unpack them, this black box that might not be on your radar yet. The way that we did it in the Power Lab is that we again use these fields, so cooperatives, local energy, electricity exchange, or innovative finance groups. And we asked them to identify the main power tensions in this SIE field. For example, the unintended consequences. Once they did that, we asked them how to deal with those. What are ways to prevent them, to tackle them, to work around them, or to at least reflect on them continuously if they are, if they do not seem like something you can tackle at this point. So that was the when we designed the exercise for the Power Lab, we took 45 minutes, again, with the facilitator and the note taker. But there is a myriad of ways in which you can also organize this. Again, start from your own experience to share these power tensions. And afterwards, what we did was we debriefed with everyone to understand if there were any similarities or commonalities between the different SIE fields. And we had the graphic harvester again help us to visualize this into one overview. So again, that's also something that can support you with this exercise.